The tzaddikim teach at the beginning of something. The beginning of something is its headquarters. The beginning of a word, the first letter. The beginning of a month, Rosh Chodesh. The beginning of a year, Rosh Hashanah. The headquarters, the essence of a thing, is wrapped into the beginning of that thing. There's a little feedback if maybe somebody's not muted. Of all the psukim that we could have began Eicha with, we read Eicha yashva badad ha'ir abasi am. Eicha yashva badad. How did this city that was Rabasi Am, that was filled with people, that was filled with life, that was filled with parents and children, that was filled with generations, that was filled with avoda, that was filled with ava, with yira, that was alive. Eicha yashva badad. How could it be that such a place becomes devoid of any vestige of life and of movement and of vitality and vibrancy? Eicha yashva badad ha'ira basi am. We're not so far off from such an experience. It takes reading a book, 2 books, on what Yiddishkeit was like before the World War. Warsaw, they used to call the mini Yerushalayim, teeming with Jews, all kinds of Jews, teeming with yearning, with growth-oriented, spiritually mature people that were yearning for dveikus, for connection to the master of the world. And in the period of a few weeks, of a few months, Eicha yashva badad. If anybody ever had the experience of moving from one house to another house, there's that moving day where all the pictures are taken off the walls and everything is packed into boxes. And you stand in this place whose walls have absorbed the echoes of memories, sometimes spanning decades, and children that were born in this house, that grew up in this house. And hopefully we're moving to a bigger place, to a better place, and I bless us all. We should always be moving up and up. Baruch Nisu v'gashmias. But there's this feeling of Eicha yashva badad. The Beis HaMikdash was a place of life. The Beis HaMikdash was a place of intimacy, of passion. It wasn't called the spiritual center of Jerusalem. It was called a bias, because you can't be intimate in a spiritual center. It's in a bias where intimacy takes place. It's in a bias where we live the essence of our lives, of who we are and what we are. It's in a bias where we're vulnerable, where we're open, where we're sincere, where we're authentic. It's in the Beis Kodesh HaKadoshim. It's in that place where the Kruvim are facing one another with the greatest love and unity and togetherness. The Beis HaMikdash is a place of movement, of eish, of fire from us going up to Shemaim, a fire of the eish yored al mizbeach. It's a place of passion. It's a place of the Shekhinah, that ethereal element of any that's impossible to capture in words. But it brings whatever area of life that we're engaged with, mamish, to life. Not just that we're doing something, there's life there. Chazal tell us about relationships. Ish v'isha zacha shchina shruya beinehem. What does that mean? What does that mean? That there's shchina that rests between a husband and a wife. Is there any detail of their technical marriage, that aspect of their obligations toward one another that's taken up to the next notch because they were zacha? No. Looks the same on the outside. Technically speaking, it's the same. They have the same apartment in the same building as 10 other couples. The husband also takes out the garbage like all the other husbands in the building. They fulfill their obligations toward one another. But there's something else about this couple. Sometimes we're zocha to see an old couple that spend decades and decades together, and they walk down the street, even if 30 years prior it might have been not so good, but they walk down the street holding hands and nobody says anything because it's shchina shriya b'neihem. What is that? How do you capture that? It means there's vitality in that relationship. The flame never died. The spirit of engagement was preserved within the marriage. The Beis Hamikdash is a place of walking, of going, of moving. Shalosh pa'amim b'shana, 3 times a year, Am Yisrael would come up to that place. We would move, we would climb, we would grow. The most beautiful, wonderful, phenomenal, tremendous, elevated experience of any chag that we ever had is a caricature held up to what Yiddishkeit is supposed to be. To what the Shalosh Regalim looked like, with kavod and malchus and shchina, shras hashchina. So the rest of the year we try to shut that away a little bit, and we don't like to think about it. And we strive to be able to make our gullus experience as lofty as it could possibly be. But one day a year we get very real. And we really hold up not just a crippled version of Yiddishkeit, but the best possible version of what we could possibly offer God, up against the vision of how things are supposed to be. And we have to be moved to tears. In 1806, Rabbi Nachman of Breslov's Chusya Ganalenu told a story. It was the first of his stories. The story is called The Lost Princess. As the title suggests, the story is about a princess who gets lost. Primarily, it's about the journey to find her. Rabbi Nachman began telling that story with the words, Baderech siparti maisa. Along the journey, I told a story. And then he uttered an eternal promise that whoever heard the story had a thought of tshuva. We don't have time now to get into the details of this story and all of the nuances and the lessons. And now is not the time. But the tzaddikim teach that when Rabbi Nachman says, Baderech siparti maisa, I told a story along a journey, it's along the journey that all of us take. The journey from innocence, the journey from vitality, from vibrancy that's associated with youth, into an experience of the quote-unquote real world, into the experience where things become tired, and things become rote, and things lose their wonder and their passion and their Beis Hamikdash energy. The Beis Hamikdash was kol kula youth. It was bursting with the spirit of youth. And that's why the Kruvim had the faces of children, because that was the innocence that existed in that place, that was bound with the fire on the Mizbeach, with the fire on the menorah, that was bound with the inyan of walking up, of moving, of growing, of passion, of feeling, of connection. The Beis Hamikdash was the place of the princess that gets lost. Like we began, the essence of a thing is captured in the headquarters of the first time that we encounter that thing. And that's why the brokenness of Tisha B'Av is wrapped up into the first pasuk in Eicha, Eicha Yashva Badad Ha'ira Basi Am. Where has the life gone? Where has the mesirus gone? The personal commitment, the involvement, the authenticity, the realness, the presence of the innermost essence of our identity given over to life. Where has that gone? But there's also a headquarters where we meet the Beis HaMikdash for the first time, where we meet the Makom HaMikdash for the first time. And the first thing that we hear about this place is when Avram Avinu was walking with his son Yitzchak in the act of the most intense and ultimate mesirus, giving over, mesiras nefesh, where the pasuk says, Vayares hamakom mirachok. Avram Avinu saw this place from afar. Rashi tells us, what's the makom that he saw? That's the makom hamikdash. Do you know what it means to see something from a distance? To see something from a distance means that there's space where I can yearn for this thing. If I'm there all the time and I get used to something where it loses its essential distance despite its closeness to me, it means that this has become rote. I already have it. I no longer need to yearn. Avram Avinu sees the makom mirachok, and that means to say that the Beis HaMikdash and the Har HaBayis is a place of essential distance, so that no matter how much we had the Beis HaMikdash, every Jew was yearning for the Beis HaMikdash. No matter how much a Beis HaMikdash couple was married, they still yearned for each other in the same measure as they did when they were engaged and they were not yet living together. They maintained that essential distance, which allowed them a chasm and a gap across which to yearn. They remained grateful for what they had because they realized that they didn't really deserve it, that it wasn't really something that they had earned, that it wasn't coming to them. And then Avram Avinu says, V'hani v'hanar nelcha ad koi. I and my son Yitzchak Avinu, we're going to go ad koi until that place, until that makom. The Zohar Kadosh tells us that the word koi is always a symbol and a sort of a code word for the Shekhinah. Every time we see the word koi, it's a code word for the Shekhinah. There are 25 letters of Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, the essential expression of our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu as Jewish people. That's the indwelling presence of God, the ability to reveal godliness in this world by standing up and making that proclamation. And that's the word Koyes, Gematria 25. That's the Shekhinah that dwells within us, that place within each and every Jew, where each and every moment we're screaming Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, and not the Shema of a Shachris on a Tuesday morning in December, but the Shema of going to the guest chambers. In the Shema, there are two big letters. There's the big ayin of the word Shema, and there's the big dalid of the word Echad. Together, these letters spell aid. And this is the essential mission of the Jewish person who's connected to the essence, to the depth of what Yiddishkeit is. To stand up and be a witness for God. That's our identity. That's who we are at the core. And so in this pasuk about the Makom HaMikdash, that's connected to the inyan of Rachok, connected to the inyan of yearning, of desire, of passion, of being given over to this place, the place of the youthful energy of fire and moving and movement, Rabbasi Am. We find this incredible thing where every word in the pasuk is hinting to this essential aspect of what the Beis Hamikdash was. Va'ani, says Avram Avinu. The Beis Hamikdash is the place where the Jew brings his or her deepest essence, where it's not by rote, and it's not simply something I do, it's what I am. V'hanar, the aspect of the Kruvim's face, that childlike wonder and excitement and passion and vitality. Nelcha, this is a place of movement. Ad koi, this is the place of Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. This is the place where I stand up and I proclaim to the world that I'm a Jew, eternally I'm a Jew, and I wouldn't give anything for it. I wouldn't give it away for anything. Nelcha ad koi. This word Eicha that we say throughout Eicha. Eicha, Eicha, Eicha. Which in and of itself is not really a word, it's just a cry. It's the prophet just screaming, Eicha. Where? Eicha. How? The Zohar Kadosh tells us that it's split into two words, I choy. Where has that koi gone? Where has the Shechina gone? It's connected to the word Ayeka, same letters, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu screams out to Adam after deviating for the very first time, on a human level at least, from the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Ayeka. Not how could you have done such a thing? Where has your identity gone? Where are you? Because that's the root of all sin. That's the root of all forays into the foreign pastures that are disconnected from the essential testimony that you and I represent in our very being. Ayeka. Where has the koi gone? Where has the nar gone? Where has the innocence gone? Ayeka. Throughout the Navi Yeshaya, the Navi Yeshaya doesn't speak so much about a lack of commitment to halacha. He speaks specifically to those that are fulfilling the letter of the law. And he screams out to them through the Haftarah that we read this morning, throughout Yeshayahu. In the name of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I can't handle your karbanos anymore. If the lave is not there, if the heart and soul is not there, if the Rabbasi Am of movement, of comfortability, of authenticity is missing, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says it's not worth it. It's a lo kedai. The point wasn't that you should be a bunch of robots following a program. The point was that all of these different signposts should point you to me in every area of life. From the moment we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, from the moment we're born until the moment we leave this world, Be'ezer Hashem, after 120 years of happiness and health. The point is that you should constantly further and further be able to bring your inner nar to me, be able to offer your lave to me. That you and I, the Ish, the Isha, Kadosh Baruch Hu, and Am Yisrael should be blessed with the Shechina Beineihem, with that ethereal spirit of love and desire and passion and gratitude. That's what a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants. Yeshayahu decries, Bisvasav kibduni, they honored me with their lips, but belibam richak mimeni. Their hearts were distant. With your permission, I'd like to read you a poem that I wrote a number of years ago, and with this will come to the end. And the poem goes like this. It's called Vision at Ne'ilah. Broken ego, broken time, broken space, broken tzaddikim, broken Shabbos, broken temple, broken Kohen Gadol, broken Yom Kippur, broken Kodesh HaKodashim. We can never stop mourning that which we never truly lost. The end of the destruction, the beginning of the rebuilding. A 2,000-year process of pain and prosperity, mortar mixing, bricklaying, interior designing, work-related injuries, freak accidents, casualties, menorah made out of blown-out candles, mizbeach made out of 6 million sacrifices, building the spiritual structure of the third temple, everlasting in its glory. It's 2021. Look up. The gleaming edifice towers above you. Look around. Mighty walls of Torah thought and tear-soaked prayer crystallized, shining. Have we not completed our task? The scaffolding has been removed. The building is built. The grandeur is blinding. And so lifted on winds of ecstasy, I escape to an ancient vision. Yom Kippur in the temple rebuilt, to behold the visage of the Kohen Gadol Ma'areh Kohen. I rush through the giant ornate doors into the expanse where heaven meets earth. Past the vessels of gold and the platform of Leviim, tuning their instruments for the very last time. I approach the Holy of Holies, legs carried by joy and excitement. And I freeze. There is no Kodesh HaKodashim. In its place, a gaping hole, concrete slabs, unsightly insulation, a tangle of wood and metal, silent, empty space. A sound. I start, frightened. Bells ring out. Ah, the Kohen Gadol. I peek around the corner, and there I see the Shmonim Begadim, holy garments. A brilliant light emanates from the Choshen stones. The shining tzitz is positioned above. Bells and pomegranates ring softly below, but there is no Kohen Gadol. The garments, they flutter in the air, devoid of essence. I am shaken from my inner wanderings as Yom Kippur draws to a close. A joyous Kaddish, table set with orange juice and rugelach, and many breaths of relief. Ma'ariv ensues. Newly forgiven, I bang my chest twice during Slach Lanu, because somehow Yom Kippur, Shabbos Shabbosam, is yet incomplete. The Beis HaMikdash of our Yiddishkeit is all but rebuilt. Wonderfully consummate in so many ways. But our generation, the stone despised by the builders, is tasked with generating the Kodesh HaKodashim. All songs are holy. The Song of Songs is Holy of Holiest. The holy has been built. Torah, Avodah, Gemilus Chasadim, Yeshiva, Shuls, Gemachs galore. The Beis HaMikdash of Jewish society stands before us, remarkably impressive. Our generation's task is to build the Holy of Holiest. A nation prepared to fill the structures of the holy with the essential spirit of Shir HaShirim. Passion, desire, romance, Ani l'doidi v'doidi li. The inward spirit of holiness, sincerity, warmth, humility, reaching the core of our holy tradition and bringing it to everlasting light. Until then, we remain with tzaddikim who cannot connect the earthiness of my life with the portion of heaven I carry within. A Shabbos robbed of spiritual freedom, nachla bimitzarim, and a spiritual temple that despite all external appearances is still broken, is yet incomplete. However, this is our job. To cut past all of the noise of what this day is. To be able to penetrate to the root essence of all of what we've gone through in this 2,000-year journey of exile. And to resolve on the innermost level of who we are, of our identity. To say, Ribbono Shel Olam, Hineni. I'm ready to be real with you. I'm ready to fill the 6 days of the week, which in Rabbi Nachman's tale are associated with the 6 sons, the 6 princes, with the essential spirit of Shabbos Kodesh. I'm ready to sanctify the 6 days of my doing with the 1 day of being, with who I am, to bring that into my halacha observance, to be able to live a life as a frum Jew in this incredible society that we built, in a way that's bursting with passion, with wonder, with gratitude, with mesirus nefesh. Hineni. That's the answer to Eicha. Hineni. And so in all of the Eichas that we're going to hear tonight and tomorrow, let's hear this question being asked. Eicha. Eicha. And to answer the Ribbon Shalom, B'shuvi Yerushalayim, we're coming back home. Let us not lose touch with what this whole thing was all about, with what it's all ever been about, to connect to that essential root identity, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, what it is to be a Jew. B'ezras Hashem, we should be able to witness the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu, B'mheir b'yameinu, amen v'amen. It's more than just an event. It's a process. You and I are part of it. And when we survey the brokenness that yet abides, this is what should break our heart this Tisha B'Av.